Welcome to the Underground.
Turn me up, bitch!
My Little Underground with Peter A.
I think I definitely have the most to say about the two trilogies.
Everybody does. Yeah. That's it. That's the story. That's the story of it all.
To the new stuff, I'm a little out of the zeitgeist because I haven't played that yet. But
Yep.
it's all good.
Yeah. No one's played Rift Apart, so we're all in that same boat. All right. It's My Little Underground. I'm Peter A, and today we're talking about the 20th anniversary of one of my favorite games ever, Ratchet and Clank. And joining me today to discuss this fantastic game are my two brothers, Smileyarriaga and Arriaga. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello. How's it going?
Hello. All right, so we're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right into it, dive right into the pool. The original PS2 trilogy of Ratchet and Clank, November 4th, 2002. Now, all of us were introduced this game through the demo disc that came through the PlayStation Magazine. What a great way to introduce people to games. Free demos.
Right? Remember those?
Yeah. It's not existent anymore. Nostalgia is very prevalent now in entertainment. So we might see a comeback of physical game done with this. Maybe not. Probably not. Okay, anyway. So, as far as, quickly, demo discs and the PlayStation Magazine, did you think that was a great way to introduce people to new games?
Yeah, like demos and demo disc, and when we had the Xbox, like demos, just being able to download.
Let me get closer.
Yeah, being able to download demos in general.
Yeah.
Demo, just the demo discs were like the first way we experienced it. But yeah, demos in general are amazing.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely agree. I was actually talking about this the other day. I'm a big fan when games let you play. Or when companies let you play their games for free to try them out, because I wouldn't have known about Ratchet and Clank if I didn't play the demo. But maybe I would have walked by GameStop and seen that this game came out, but we got to try it, and that's why I wanted to buy it in the first place.
Yeah, and I guess it was free. You get a free, Blockbuster was really good too with that.
Oh,
you didn't have to pay, but it was still a great way to introduce yourself to new games because it wasn't that expensive to rent the game. But yeah, the PlayStation demo discs were just amazing because there would be 6. Every month would be they would choose if they wanted to be stingy or not. They'll give you 5 or 6 or 7 or sometimes 3 or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
some of them didn't even work.
Yeah, you're way too far. You gotta come closer.
Oh, yeah. Some of them didn't even work.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, some of them didn't work at all. But okay, so the first Ratchet and Clank game. What were your initial thoughts? Just general thoughts when you first started playing the game.
I think the first thing that jumped out to me, the sound design of the game. And that's including the soundtrack. It has a great soundtrack, but whenever you break open a box, that's a cool sound. Whenever you pick up bolts, it was a very cool audio experience. Besides it being a great game, that's the first thing that stuck out to me. When you smack an enemy and then they scream, those cool sounds, they become little achievements. I beat this enemy, you know what I mean? I throw a bomb at this guy. So that I feel it really jumped out to me as a great sounding game.
I was just kind of obsessed with all the wrench mechanics of the game. Because pretty much Ratchet, the main character game, Ratchet, he has a wrench. It's literally like Zelda, but you're a furry guy, instead of a sword and shield, you're a furry guy with a wrench and a robot on your back. So Ratchet just being able to throw the wrench, or use the bolt cranes. I used the wrench so many times before I found out, oh wait, weapons are a thing too. You actually have weapons and they're all different. But yeah, definitely all the wrench, all the melee mechanics, the movement of the game was what really got to me.
Yeah, to me the overall, the visuals and the soundtrack, who is this furry, the mascot thing was really cool to me. Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, which Insomniac Games also did before Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet looked cool. He had a different, unique aesthetic, and the wrench. The wrench was just, oh man, look at this little thing. It's really cool. You could just jump and break boxes and hit enemies with it. And then, like you said, Smiley, with the guns. When you really start to play the game, you see, okay, there's a lot of wacky weaponry here. And yes, the soundtrack is amazing. And again, back to the visuals, it looked like a Disney movie, a Pixar movie kind of thing, but it was cartoony, but not overly cheesy. You know what I mean? But it was just amount of cartoony. But it was really cool. It had a very unique aesthetic and everything, and it was just an overall fun games to play initially.
The movement was very
Yeah.
reminiscent of like, especially like Ratchet can do side flips, back flips, and front flips. Very reminiscent of Mario 64. All the moves that Mario had, and like the game let you discover them. They didn't really teach you. Like, you can go into the menu and look up how to do them, but you pretty much found that. I found that out myself. Wait, you can do a backflip?
Yeah.
What the heck?
It was an old school platformer, but it was like a new platformer. You know what I mean? Like they took what happened in Crash Bandicoot and they just kind of put it on steroids. The jumping mechanics are really cool, especially when you get the helipack and everything like that. There's a lot of little nooks and crannies, a lot of nuts and bolts. Excuse the pun. This game that made it unique, the RPG elements and everything. Really interesting. The currency system with the bolts instead of just cash.
Yeah, like the clicking sound made so much sense because that's literally the sound bolts make.
Yeah.
I like how the world building is really good too because like you go to any world and they have the kiosks and you can buy whatever, you feel like, oh, this guy selling me stuff, he's probably somewhere in this world, running this business, this intergalactic business, and it got more like they went deeper into that in the other games, like with Slincognito and all that stuff. Where you actually have to look for this guy. Yeah. But I like how the world felt believable.
What do we think of the story?
Story was pretty good
in the first game.
From the first level, it doesn't. The game does not. It doesn't drag you through it. Like after you beat the first level, you sort of know what the game's about. Like this guy can fix things. And this robot is moving the plot along because apparently there's something going on with Chairman Drek. Like they don't like treat you like a horse and give you bit by bit. It's sort of just like, okay, this is the story, these are the characters, and then as you play the game more, like you see like Captain Quark, like he's my favorite character in the whole thing. Like I love his arc.
The characters really like unraveled as you like went through the game. Like Captain Quark really, I love how you brought up Captain Quark because like he like at first you don't really think he's like introduced as like this hero, like, oh man, it's like this rock star hero that you want to meet. But then when you meet him, you kind of find out that, okay, this guy is like kind of a washed up star at the end of his rope. And then he slowly pretty much becomes the villain. Like, and like, unlike the 2016 remaster, the first Ratchet and Clank really showed how Ratchet and Clank became friends. Like, in every argument they had, you felt it throughout the level. It's like, shit, they're still mad at each other. We gotta get through this stuff.
Yeah, the story was interesting because it talked a lot about hero worship and then don't meet your heroes and everything. And kind of like you said, a washed up superstar trying to reclaim his former glory. It talks about like corporate greed and everything because Drek wants to take planet's resources. Not only take the planet's resources, but like destroy the planet. It's very what's the word? Colonizing.
Yes.
So it's you're colonizing and you're destroying planets, just for personal gain. So it was a very interesting story. Very later, but okay. The one thing about Ratchet and Clank that's unique is the weaponry, right? So in the first game, what is your favorite weapon if you have one? Yeah.
Well, that's a tough one.
It is
Because my favorite gun would have to be it's a golden weapon. When you get the golden blaster, that's my favorite because not only do the bullets like shoot, they bounce around.
Yeah.
And the game like you really have to work hard to get those guns. So that's one of my favorite, and in general, the golden weapons, the fact that even exists is really, really cool.
The ricochet thing, like, and that became like a staple. Where, like, in future games, when you upgraded weapons, like, specifically the precision weapons, when you upgrade them, the bullets ricochet off the walls.
Yeah, I really like that. Like the whole like searching for gold. You have to find gold bolts, but there's also gold guns too. That was really cool.
A lot of treasure hunting in this game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, but like, I do want to say my favorite weapon before I do want to talk about the golden bolt thing. Like, my favorite weapon probably Tessaclaw. Tessaclaw is really ill. Like, it's like a lightning weapon. It's so simple. But like, the cool thing about the golden weapons, like, that's a thing you can completely miss.
Yeah.
We like played that game at least 5 times before wait, there's golden weapons? That's what the golden bolts are for.
Oh yeah.
Holy crap. Because at first, like, we're collecting golden bolts. Like, they were kind of fun to see where they were hidden. But then, like, not only there's a deeper layer. Wait, you can use this for stuff.
Yeah, my favorite, the blaster and the Tessaclaw are my favorites, but I love the Parositor. It's just flamethrower, and when you upgrade it, it's like this green mist that comes out. It's kind of like it's amazing. It's like the lava gun in Ratchet and Clank 2, which we'll talk about, and when you upgrade the lava gun, the meteor gun, and then when you get to the mega weapons in the challenge mode, it's the liquid nitrogen gun.
Yeah, that's Ratchet
Yeah,
too.
it's amazing. Yeah, so the processor is like the predecessor to that. Yeah, it's a good one.
You know, like before it was you said it the right way, the processor. You remember for years when we were kids, we called it the pyro setter.
Yeah. But the one thing about Ratchet Clank that's the whole series is it teaches you a little bit about like finance and building a budget. Because you can't buy every weapon, you're going to lose all your bolts. You have to buy the right weapons, buy the right gadgets when it's time, the appropriate time. I mean, you can just buy everything.
Some weapons you just find.
Well, yeah. But, the suck cannon, when you get later you can't use the suck cannon against Chairman Drek. That's towards the end. But, but the suck cannon was a great game. But anyway, okay, a year later, November 11, 2003, Going Commando. Now, this is a game we were also introduced through the demo disc, and the thing is, we've spent a lot of time with this game, and then went back to Ratchet and Clank 1 to see, oh wow, so that's where that, like the golden weapons. In Ratchet and Clank 2, one of the unique mechanics is to upgrade the gun. So, to me, this game was the first step in the evolution of the series. There's so much strafing, the quick select pause, expanding the weapon upgrade system, armors, more weapons, more gadgets, stronger story to me. Characters, yes. The comedy is stepped all the way up. Let's see, the revised space combat when you're in space or whatever, when you're in the ship.
Like Star Fox.
Yeah, it's like that. The upgradable wrench, arena challenges, the Megacorp games, the Galactic Gladiators with Beachy Brawler and Chainblade. So, what are your thoughts on the sequel to Ratchet and Clank, Going Commando, which is the title is hysterical, Going Commando, and I learned this is what
you start to realize like the game titles. Like Insomniac was very funny and silly in that way. Like, you have Going Commando, up your arsenal.
Yeah.
but Going Commando, this is how you make a sequel. Because you take everything that was good about the first game, like, everything we just talked about, plus you go deeper into, we want gamers to search, we want gamers to explore. Because if you explore in Ratchet and Clank Going Commando, not only do you find cool things, you find things like the Insomniac Museum, you find things like things on maps, like, that you wouldn't even find... like if you're exploring a map and you fall, but then you hang onto a ledge and you pull yourself up, all of a sudden you're in this weird room. I love that. In terms of like Going Commando though, it took everything about the first Ratchet and Clank game and then just like times 2.
Yep.
The story is even more involved. You have some of the old characters coming back, new characters too. Like Angela Cross is probably my favorite character in all of Ratchet and Clank. I really like Going Commando.
Angela Cross was one of the things to me, like. This is, like, the second best Ratchet and Clank story to me, like, because Crack in Time, but, like, this is, like, the best Ratchet and Clank game. Like to me, it's, like, the... And also, another thing they introduced, like, usually in games, like, people, like, would hack the game to get into something called a developer room, where it's pretty much, like, a room that a developer has that has a whole, like, every weapon in the game, or, like, stuff that never made it to the game. They decided... And Insomniac decided, wait, what if we make this a thing that people can get to and unlock? The Insomniac Museum.
Or you could just set the PS2 time clock to like midnight.
Yes.
Yep.
And you can...
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's how.
A specific time. And I always thought, play by the honor system, I'm going to have to wake up at like 11:30 and make sure, but then I realized like you could just switch the time and get in there on your own.
Like, the game was already a certified classic, but then when we found that, I was like, what the hell? Like, this game is wacky. It's wild.
Yeah, to me, this game, it accelerated the RPG elements of Ratchet and Clank, because this game is a hybrid of different games, a shooter, platformer, and an RPG, because you can upgrade the guns, which I was obsessed with. Like, I loved, working my way through the Lancer to get to the Heavy Lancer, or seeing what happens when I upgrade the Bouncer. Oh, it turns into the Heavy Bouncer. Or getting the Plasma Coil, spending 150,000 bolts on it, you upgrade it, and it turns into the Plasma Storm. And then when you get to Challenge Mode... The whole process starts all over again, which is, it adds to the replay value, which we'll get into a little later. But this game is fucking hilarious. It is hilarious.
Oh my god, yeah, like
so many quotable things. When the thug or the thief, which is Angela, right?
Spoiler alert, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He goes into
20
the-
years to play this shit.
He's in the laboratory, like the second level, right? One of the megacorp headquarters, and he tries to purchase. She tries to purchase it, and then it's like, well, I've forgotten my wallet.
You guys can take care of this.
Great villain.
They took the guy and threw him against the wall.
And the thing is, it turns out she wasn't even a villain, but initially she is like a formidable force. Like at that point, there really was. Like, usually, like, in the first Ratchet and Clank were underdogs. In this game, Angela was someone who was on your level, but at first, like, you didn't know if she was a threat or not. You didn't, like, the way the story unfolded was so simple, but, like, really effective, very memorable.
And the Thugs for Less leader. Oh my god.
He was so funny.
Oh my god. I saw that, Cletus.
You turned yourself right up.
And whoever's beating all the Chuchi bars better quit stuffing his face. Or the guy that gives you charge boots in the on Joba.
Did the Simpsons writers sneak his way in Insomniac games?
Well,
or something?
that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like Insomniac looked at some of the tropes of video games, like, oh, okay, it's cool to have a bunch of faceless thugs to shoot at and kill, but let's give the faceless thugs some character.
Yeah.
Like, that's something that not a lot of games were doing at that time.
Yeah.
You know? But I wanted to work for the Thugs for Life, because I feel like they take care of their guys, you know?
You know, you're talking about bringing life into the characters, like, to face scare, like, even, like, later in the game when you fight, like, these robot, like, soldiers, and, like, you can blow their torsos off, and they'll just be walking legs, but the funny thing is, when you get close to the walking legs,
They kick you.
they start to kick you. I'm like, what the hell is
Yeah,
this?
fuck me up.
What?
Yeah, that level ain't easy. And then you when the legs kick you and you die, yo, forget it. So angry.
Oh, yeah.
It was
man.
like, instead of, I blew his torso off, oof!
Yeah. And the Thugs for Less leader, oh my god, what do you say? No, not the Thugs for Less, the guy who sells you the charge boots. He was like in the trailer.
Yeah.
He's like, what do you say? I'm just here for the big sales.
No.
Yeah.
No. It's the thing. That was like another guy gave you the hover bike, but the guy you're talking about was in another hover bike level.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're right. He gave you the charge boots. Yeah. He was like, I'm just here for the bake sales. Oh, and I make these like little cute gloves for the guys. Yeah.
When you meet the Thugs for Less guy, before you do like the hoverbike races, and he's like kind of curious about Clank, and then Ratchet's like, "Won't touch him," and it's Plasma City, and he breaks down. We didn't have to go and say that.
Yeah. Because I can't hear you. La la la
And
la.
Ratchet-
Only the little guy.
Ratchet actually felt bad. Like, you know, like it's interesting. Like their relationship was earned. Like, you know, if you played the first Ratchet and Clank, they really had they had some rough road to get over. But then in this game, they were already buddies. They were already friends. But like they earned that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like
This was also the first game that split apart Ratchet and Clank for a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
Because when you start the game, they're both doing their own things. Like, and then you actually get to, like, you know, play a couple of Clank levels, play a couple of Ratchet levels, and then you get that really cool experience when they're together again, and you get the helipack and all that stuff back. It makes it feel like you're playing a Ratchet and Clank game again.
Yeah.
This game is just... there's so much to do.
Excuse me.
There's so much to do. Like, you have to go through all... If you want, you go through all of the arena challenges. But the thing is, in the hoverbike races... but I actually love the hoverboard races in the first Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah,
I thought it was... Because, again, the Tony Hawk series was pretty popular at the time, so it was kind of like that.
Skid McMarks, how do we not talk about him?
Oh, right.
Oh my god, he's such a good guy.
Yeah, it's kind of like Rob Van Dam and like Matt Riddle like put together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. But Ratchet Clank 2 is like there's so much shit to do, more guns, more wackiness, and just fucking hysterical. It adds to the first Ratchet Clank times a million. It was just amazing. Let's move to Ratchet and Clank 3 because there's some things that, you know, I'll tie it all together. Trust me. Okay, so November 2nd, 2004, we had Up Your Arsenal, the third one. So there's not that much they added in this game except for like
Multiplayer.
yes, multiplayer, because at the time, you know, Xbox Live was getting started and all that stuff. So lots more weapons, a lot of bosses in Ratchet Clank 3 I found, like Courtney Gears and Nefarious, the Bio-Obliterator. It was a very boss-heavy game.
Yep.
The mini-games were kind of part of the main story, like the Court Vid comics, which I thought were hysterical. It gave you a background, like an origin story to Nefarious, so they're very important to me. And that's why you had to play some of them. And the skins were cool.
The skins were really cool. Like, you can unlock cheats and stuff. I think every skin you unlocked in this campaign, you also unlocked in multiplayer.
Right.
But with the multiplayer, here's the thing. And like a lot of other games at the time, like like this was the case for a lot of other games in the PS2 era, multiplayer games. I don't know, maybe it's like I noticed that the multiplayer engine, I guess to cut costs and make sure it ran better, it was sort of a downgraded version of the main game. You notice that
because
like,
the PS2 wasn't it's not as powerful as like the Xbox.
Yeah.
Or,
like
but
like you know, like Ratchet and Clank 3, I consider it like in terms of the story, the gameplay is excellent, obviously because it's Ratchet and Clank 2, but like the story, it's kind of like the Austin Powers Gold member of this trilogy, in which the good parts are damn good, but then there are parts that are like, what the fuck did they do this for?
I do feel like the game is very Hollywood. You know, like you're working for the president, and you're part of the Galactic Federation, and there's a war going on. Like, you know, like that's kind of cool. Like you went from being the scrappy dude in the first game to a commando, and now you're like pretty much in the president's army. Yeah, you know. So the setting was very Hollywood, and then you have the whole like Secret Agent Clank angle. You know, like Ratchet and Clank are moving up in the world.
The thing is, that's an interesting thing you brought that up, because when you think about Ratchet's arc, in the first game, he's just a mechanic. He doesn't really want to be this hero. So every time Clank is like, look, we have to find Quark, he's like, hell, I want to go hang out in Porkataru. You know, and then Ratchet Clank 2, he's like, okay. And then
Ratchet Clank 2, they're both on the same page.
And at the end of Ratchet Clank 1, he's like, okay, Clank, you're right. It's much bigger than me. It's very interesting. And then you see in Ratchet Clank 3, he's like, fuck it, whatever you need, let's go. Because this is bigger than me.
It's kind of crazy, with like the dynamic of Ratchet and Clank and Ratchet and Clank 3, it's like Clank now is the one who's kind of like because they got famous, so Clank got a movie role, and Clank's like literally they're on their way to a planet on a galactic mission, and Clank gets a call from his acting manager, baby, we need you, and Clank's like, well, and Ratchet's like, dude, we got work to do, like what the hell is this? But like,
I got mad skills.
Yeah,
mad skills.
Yeah, like Ratchet came a long way from that. Yeah. Like, you know, like Clank, like wanted to like goof around, and like Ratchet was just like, dude, like, you know, because like the Clank levels in this game I did not like, but I think maybe it was the purpose to show that, you know, Clank was working this stupid job while they had more important things to do. But at the same time, it's like I wish they made his levels a little more engaging.
I did like the Secret Agent Clank levels, because it was, like we were just saying, very Hollywood. You know, you're playing a movie scene, which was kind of cool. Yeah. And taking the banana with the monkey and all that stuff was kind of cool. But I will say this: I didn't like this as much as I liked the Ratchet levels in 1 and 2, because I like the Pikmin element of the game.
Yeah, the gadget
you control the gadget bots, and you can tell them to attack and everything like that. I thought that was really cool, but. Yeah, Ratchet Clank 3, it's just, of the original 3, this is not as memorable as Ratchet Clank 1 and 2, not as replayable. It still has a ton of replay value.
Oh, it does.
But it's not as replayable as the first two. So any other general thoughts about Ratchet 3?
I definitely think that this game was more cinematic.
Yeah,
in the sense,
I would agree.
It's a story, like Ratchet gets the girl in the end kind of thing. You know, like it's kind of
like daughter.
Exactly, like you're playing. It feels like you're almost playing a movie, and I feel like, and this is like a recent reflection. Looking back, I would much rather see more Secret Agent Clank like cutscenes, and I would love to see that as like a movie.
The cutscenes were better than the gameplay.
Yeah, the gameplay was kind of like, okay, like I get the setting, but you know, there's that. It's sort of like what you said. Like they didn't really add too much stuff. Like the difference between 1 and 2 was astronomical. But the difference between 2 and 3 was not so much. You know? Very enjoyable. Still has replay value, but if I'm going to play anything from the old trilogy, it's probably going to be 2. Like, I love that.
No, like, what pissed me off the most about Ratchet and Clank 3? Like, they're at war, right? They're at war. We need the best of the best. Where the fuck was Angela?
Yeah, she was kind of like, she's a missing piece of this.
They brought her, like, they referenced her in, like, Ratchet and Clank Crack in Time, which I love how they referenced her. It actually, the way they referenced her in the Crack, we'll talk about it later, but the way they referenced her really added to that trilogy.
I will, like, a closing thought for me, for the third one, and I think I might have mentioned this to you at some time, Michael, that I think, this is kind of a controversial take, I think the third Ratchet and Clank was more about Quark, like it was Quark's game. Because, like, you know, Ratchet and Clank, they have their roles, you know, already established. Quark is still, like, this goofy guy, and then you do this boss, and then he dies. So then you're like, oh crap! Like, is Cork really dead? But then he has this whole redemption arc where you kind of see him in rock bottom, and then he works his way back up. Which it's really that was one of the most interesting things, like, to me about the game. Like, it almost feels like this was Cork's game.
Yeah,
that makes sense because Cork was a villain in 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And he was an instrumental part to why Nefarious is Nefarious. Because through the Cork vid comics, he accidentally tosses Nefarious, the human form of Nefarious, into, like, lava or something?
It was like a Joker thing where he did a pit of acid and he became a cyborg, whatever.
So I'm glad they focused on Cork in Ratchet and Clank 3.
Yeah.
But I will say this, the one thing about Ratchet and Clank 3 is, like, okay, the online multiplayer, right? On paper, it looks very interesting because all the things they showed off and everything in the trailer, and it's right, but, like, you know what?
In the trailer.
Yeah, but because at this time, Halo 2 was, like, dominant. As far as, like, console online gaming, it wasn't even close. But I think that with Ratchet and Clank, I think Insomniac Games realized this, especially when we get to the future series. The one thing that's important in Ratchet and Clank is the narrative, it's the story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ratchet, because we'll get to it with PS3, more power, but they were like they could have put a multiplayer aspect in the PS3 version.
I'm so glad
because the technology was there, allowed for that. But they said, fuck it, let's just pack more shit into the core single-player game, which I'm fine with.
Me too.
Okay, so I didn't say this about Ratchet and Clank 2, so I'll get your thoughts on it. Ratchet and Clank 2, Going Commando, favorite weapon from that game?
Oh, favorite weapon?
Yeah.
Shit.
The Zodiac. For
Zodiac
sure.
is
And the reason why it's my favorite gun is because
fucked up.
It's fucked up, and it's also rewarding. Because it's one of the most expensive weapons in the game. If you actually take the time to save up the 2 million bolts I think it costs, it's a big payoff.
It costs $1,500,000.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
It's
1.5 million bolts.
But then you press the button, and I remember my first time, I was like, what does this weapon do? I want to know. It just wipes out everything.
Everyone's dust.
It's like Thanos. Like, it's like the gauntlet in a weapon. It doesn't work on bosses as well, but, like, fodder, forget about them.
Yo, you literally hit the nail on the head. It literally is like the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
But, like,
Yep.
I have two favorite weapons Ratchet and Clank 2. The Rhino 2. Because it's
amazing.
such an evolution of the first Rhino.
That's my favorite Rhino.
It's like a mini gun. It's like a big minigun, but shoots missiles.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And underrated weapon to me, the Spider-Bot glove. I thought Ratchet and Clank 2 did the Spider-Bot glove way better than Watch Dogs did. Because in Ratchet and Clank 2 it's actually fun to use, at least to me. Because they really tried to push the game. People argue that Ratchet and Clank 2's inventory was more bloated, but I love how they were so ambitious with how many gadgets they gave you, but how many different gadgets they gave you.
It made you think. The game really made you focus on your quick select.
Yes.
And it was important in Ratchet and Clank 3 too because there was a lot more guns. Because the Ratchet and Clank 1 and 2, some of the Ratchet and Clank 1 and 2 guns carried over.
Yeah.
But my favorite gun in Ratchet 2, there's two. Is the plasma coil
Yes.
and the synthnoid.
Oh, yes.
Because when you upgrade it, they become the killnoid. And then when you get the mega killnoid in challenge mode, you don't even. It's almost not fair. You can't use your gun because all they do, they just kill. Yep. They appear and then they see enemy.
Bam.
They blast you till you're dead. They blast you till you're. That's it. I was like, this is the greatest gun in the game. This is amazing.
When it comes to the synthenoids, I think they were most aggressive in Ratchet and Clank 2.
Yeah, it's not like Mr. Zircon greets you.
Yeah.
I'm Mr. Zircon. No, these motherfuckers don't say anything. They appear and they kill and they go away.
You know what I loved about the synthenoids? Unlike Mr. Zircon, the synthenoids shut the hell up.
Yes, they just appeared and killed.
Like, here's the thing, like, Mr. Zircon, like, actually, before we get on, like, Mr. Zircon in the Future series was cool because he had a few lines, he didn't talk that much. In the remaster of Ratchet and Clank, which we won't talk about that much, but that Zircon was annoying because he never stopped fucking talking. And he had family members.
Yeah,
Oh,
I didn't need a backstory to Zircon, but anyway, but not saying you're it's just like the whole idea.
No, that's why the synthenoids were a great weapon.
Yeah, right. Okay, so before we get into the spin-offs, here's one of the most important parts of Ratchet and Clank to me. Challenge mode.
Oh, yes.
Okay, challenge mode is after you beat the game, and this is in every the first three. and in the other ones too. You beat the game. You have the option of restarting the game on a harder difficulty, but you have the option of like getting things that doing a lot of things that you didn't do in the first game, like the arena challenges, collecting the Raritanium in the desert, and winning the hoverbike races, getting all the skill points to unlock costumes for Ratchet and the Insomniac Museum and all that stuff. And you get the mega weapon, so you can buy your even stronger versions of the weapon, so it gives you replay value.
Yes.
And this is the first 3 games before online multiplayer consumed our lives and consumed the gaming world. It was still a thing, but like the core game was enough. So, what are your thoughts on the challenge mode?
Challenge mode, it offered you a chance to like go deeper into the world, because if you don't professionally, I shouldn't say professionally, but like we logged a lot of hours for those games. But on the first playthrough, you don't find everything. So when you go back with the challenge mode, like you get stronger weapons, but also you may find things you didn't find on your first playthrough. Yep. And you can keep going. Like the challenge mode, like there's no real end to the game.
It gets harder too.
It gets harder and it gets more fun. You know, because then you actually want to like find all of the crystals in the desert, because you know if you have all those crystals, you can upgrade your ship faster, and the space combat missions are less stressful because you can actually like, you know, survive.
And the bolt multiplier too.
True.
Yep. You can tell how far you are sometimes in your challenge mode when you see how high your bolt multiplier is.
And to that end, in Ratchet and Clank 2, it's almost like the economy on the Bogon Galaxy is better than the economy on the Solana Galaxy, because you get different bolts with that are worth 100 bolts, or sometimes 1,000 bolts. And then when you go through challenge mode, it just multiplies. You can get up to like 100 bolt multipliers or whatever. It's very interesting. And in the first Ratchet game, it's 1 bolt, 2 bolts, 5 bolts. Yeah. Like the Rhino in the first game cost 100,000 bolts, and that took a while to get.
It was like 150,000.
Yeah, I think it was 150,000. Yeah. And in Ratchet and Clank 2, it's 1 million.
2 million.
Bolts.
It was 2 million.
Yeah, but you get the opportunity for you to earn more bolts was plentiful.
I mean, Ratchet had a better job, you know, at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
You're a commando. And you work for Megacorp.
You're an FBI agent, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, in the first game, I didn't think about that. In the first game, you're just a mechanic. In the second game, you're a commando employed by Megacorp.
And something that we haven't mentioned are the names. The names for things. Like, everything is so uniquely named. Like
Ratchet,
Megacorp.
Clank.
You know, and even the galaxies too, like the Polaris Galaxy, they're named after real stars and systems. Like Polaris,
I didn't know that.
Polaris, yeah, like
that's the North Star.
Yeah,
you know, and they actually use those like names of the Greek names for a lot of the things in the world, which I think is awesome. If you have a game that takes place in space, you might as well take some inspiration from like actual space.
Wait, I didn't know. Wait, no, Polaris, that was like in the future galaxy. In the future games.
that was the galaxy in the future one.
You hit the nail. That's cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know it was actually like those stars.
The thing is, you know, what Ratchet Clank has, because before we were recording the show, I was playing Ratchet and Clank, and I still play Ratchet and Clank to this day. This game has an incredible amount of replay value because there's so much to do. It's not like there's a bunch of stuff with nothing to do. Like the Grand Theft Auto 5 map, won't get into that, but like there's a lot, but there's nothing to do. Mm-hmm. In Ratchet and Clank, there's a ton to do. There's even in the future series, which we'll get to in a little bit, but like there's so much to do. So the challenge mode, like, okay, I didn't get this, I didn't get that armor, I didn't get that weapon, I didn't get those weapons, so I'm going to replay it until I get it. It's just amazing. This is a lost art in games because Ratchet and Clank story is so strong that I wanted to play it again. And not only that, there's other stuff to do, but there's a lot of games today which charge $59.99. But there's nothing else to do, and the story's not that strong for me to replay it. There's no reason to replay it too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
One thing we haven't mentioned that I think is kind of like a given. You're going to notice if whoever plays these games, the music for even the games that like you. I talk shit about Ratchet and Clank 3's narrative for every Ratchet and Clank game, at least for the first 2 trilogies. The music is always consistent.
Yeah, and I love the music in in Ratchet Clank 2, the arena challenges.
Yeah.
When you fight a boss battle, the music is just great.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so after Up Your Arsenal, there was the first spin-off in the series. October 25th, 2005, we have Deadlocked. And this game was interesting because there's no Clank. Clank is in the game, but you just hear his voice and you see him in cutscenes. There's no Clank. It's more squad-based combat. It's a way darker story, kind of like Gladiator. And Dread Zone is essentially like it's like a snuff mill. You have to kill the heroes, and it's recorded. And people are watching, and it's popular.
You know, to sort of like to add a little more detail, you're right. Clank is in the game, but what's interesting? At first, I was like, he's the help desk person. In this game, you like in Ratchet and Clank 1, 2, and 3, you get Ratchet and Clank 1, you meet the help desk lady.
And the voice is just amazing. Yeah, man, whoever is the voice actress for that, phenomenal.
In the first 2 games, you always hear the voice of the help desk person who's always helping, pretty much giving you controller pointers and stuff like that. But in Deadlocked, Clank is the help desk person, which is interesting because when you meet the help desk lady in Ratchet and Clank 1, she looks like Clank. So Clank pretty much becomes the help desk person in Deadlocked.
Yeah,
he's ever present.
The one thing to me about Deadlocked that I thought was really cool, because reading the PlayStation magazines, and again, they also gave us a free demo if you had a PlayStation magazine. Like, the look of Ratchet was, again, it was a more darker tone. Like, the helmet that he had was more dark. I love the dual-wield...
Dual Vipers?
Yeah, Dual Vipers.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Because Halo 2, a year before, they incorporated the whole dual-wield mechanic, which was amazing. So, Ratchet Clank, I thought, it was really awesome. I love the different... Because Ratchet Clank 3, there was not much different from Ratchet Clank 2. And at this point, this is an annual series. Deadlock really was challenging because they went in a completely different direction. It wasn't like the straight up platforming aspects of the first 3 games. It was more like, again, arena based combat. What did you guys think of all of this? The whole direction.
Well, I'll let you go first.
I like that it was arena based because one of my favorite parts of the other games were when you got to fight in the Coliseum. And this game is just like, what if we just took the entire Ratchet and Clank game and put it in the Coliseum?
It was the Megacorp games, but its own game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was very non-linear in a way that it still had a story mode, but like all of the you were just fighting on these huge maps, and so the game was basically just saying get powerful guns and take out these enemies because they're tough.
This is a game that should not have worked, but it worked better. It's like if Halo and Doom were like, okay, like they interviewed Ratchet and Clank like, yo, we're taking you under our wing.
This is the ODST of Ratchet and Clank.
Yes.
It's the
best spin-off.
Side game.
Yes.
But I think it is. I think it stands on its own, like as its own thing, because like it's a great chapter in the Ratchet and Clank story because it takes risks.
A lot of risks. Same with Halo ODST. Yep. Yeah, same thing. It took a lot of risks. No Master Chief.
That's it.
All the problems with Ratchet and Clank 3's narrative I had were
gone.
No, I did not have any problems with Ratchet Deadlock's narrative. Okay. Ratchet Deadlock's narrative is really good. It's short.
It's not canon, but it sort of is.
It is canon. It's canon. Come on.
Because at the very end, spoiler alert, at the very end, Nefarious makes a...
It's canon.
Yeah.
It's canon. Come on.
Yeah. All right, here's a game that's totally not canon. The second spin-off, February 13th, 2007 on PSP, and March 11th, 2008 on PS2, Size Matters. Now, I played this game a lot because I have a PSP, and I enjoyed this game. I thought it was really fun. Is it the best Ratchet & Clank series? Hell no. If you have a PSP, this is the best PSP game you're going to get next to SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 and Burnout for PSP. If you have a PSP at this very moment, go buy Ratchet Size Matters. Please do. If you have a PS2, the first 3 games.
You'll get a higher frame rate on PS2. That's the only difference.
Sure.
That's the only difference.
Did you guys play this game at all?
I played a little. I didn't finish it. I don't know too much about
I don't remember
what happens in the story.
I know Ratchet and Clank are on vacation. That's all I know. Yeah.
That sounds pretty on the nose.
Yeah.
Because I think most of the game takes place on an island, but I haven't played it in a while.
Yeah.
I do remember some of the mechanics were cool. Like the whole like size thing was cool because like there are some places maybe that Ratchet can't fit, so you need like a gadget or a tool to shrink down so that you can like fight these enemies. But then it also changes the world because when you're Ratchet sized and you're dealing with all these little enemies, that's cool. But then what if you become smaller than them? Then it's sort of like you gotta rely on your tools. But I played it for a little bit. And I liked it. It wasn't one of those games where I'm like, oh, okay, this is not a Ratchet and Clank game. Like it is. It holds up. And I think I've mentioned this before to Michael. But as a whole, when you're looking at the Ratchet and Clank franchise, there are some great games in that franchise. Even the quote unquote worst of them are actually still good games,
Yeah.
and this is one of them.
Yeah.
With size matters. Like, it may not be the best Ratchet and Clank game, but it's a lot of the cool things about Ratchet and Clank put into a PSP game. And one thing that this game does have that even Deadlocked didn't have, even though I do think Deadlock's multiplayer was better than Ratchet and Clank 3's multiplayer, Size Matters didn't have multiplayer. But one thing Size Matters did have that they didn't have to put in, an Insomniac Museum. There was an Insomniac Museum in Size Matters.
And there was challenge mode too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They put a lot of things that they didn't have to have.
It's a good game. All right,
Yeah.
so let's move on to the Future series on PlayStation 3.
Oh, baby.
Now, this
baby.
is Insomniac Games utilizing the PS3 to the full extent. There's a lot packed in visually and gameplay wise. So let's go into it. October 23rd, 2007, almost a year after the PS3 came out, we have Future Tools of Destruction. And here's the thing. To me, I don't know about you guys, the first year of the PS3, there was no reason to get PS3.
Yep.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, Xbox 360, at least you had Halo. Halo 2 was backwards compatible, so, and that game on online multiplayer was scary popular, so they had to make it. Yeah, it was just like, if you had an Xbox 360, you had Halo. But PS3, what the fuck was there the first year? NBA 2007? No, like, come on, man. Motorstorm?
Oh, there was,
Motorsport is Migos.
what was that game where you flew a dragon?
What?
And like with the motion controls on PS3. What the hell is that called?
I don't know. Oh, there was Resistance? Insomniac did that.
Yeah, they did that.
I didn't play that. Did you play
Resistance
it?
was fun. I don't remember the story, but it was fun.
Yeah, and
It wasn't as fun
console-
as Killzone.
$600 for nothing. It was crap.
You know, like, wait, we're talking about Quest for Booty, right?
We're talking about Tools of Destruction.
No, I'm just saying, like,
Do you want to?
Yeah, because like it matters.
All right, so
Trilogy,
with the
I
first,
think so.
okay, Future Tools of Destruction. This is the reason I own a PS3, to be honest. Okay, what do you guys think of this? General thoughts of the first of the Future series.
Man, Richard.
To be honest, when I first saw this game being played, our cousin was playing it in Florida.
Yeah,
And that
Darian.
was- That was the
Played it in
reason.
his house. Yeah.
Yes, that's why I wanted to get a PlayStation 3 because I feel like Tools of Destruction utilized the PlayStation 3 like very, very well. Like,
And at that time, Krakenstein wasn't out, so.
yes, very, very true. I think they were branching out. It felt like they were trying to make Ratchet and Clank bigger. There were more weapons. There were like the maps were bigger. And this game, Tools of Destruction, I really like the story. I really like how they started to peel back the layers of Ratchet's history and the Lombaxes and the Dimensionator, which became kind of a running gag, but it was first introduced in this game. And I really think that like the Kragmites were great villains. They were great villains.
Yeah.
Their leader was evil.
Yeah.
And he was also very funny. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I love how you said peel back the layers because like it's interesting. It's like I was saying before how like in the first Ratchet and Clank game, Ratchet and Clank argued a lot. The second one and the third one, they were more on the same page. And Deadlocked, they were on the same page too, even though they were sort of separated. But Tools of Destruction, it was interesting because they were talking about Ratchet's family. And Ratchet was like kind of, you know, while he was discovering more about his family, Clank was with him for the whole ride. But the problem was, maybe you felt how much it was affecting Ratchet because in a way he kind of started to regress. Like, him and Clank would argue more. Like, when Ratchet would like, oh, we gotta go find out more about it. So Clank's like, you should be careful. And Ratchet's like, what do you mean? Like, you know, they would argue a lot more in this game. Like,
Yeah, like with Future, you know what? Like, this game was harder, and there was a lot more going on, and the Groovatron. this weapon.
yo.
This is what made me interested. I'm like, what? I was like, Ratchet Clank on PS3, great. And the graphics were fantastic, but the Groovatron, I could just throw a disco ball up the air and everyone starts dancing and you
love it.
blast them to hell. It's amazing. So good. But you know what? I haven't played Future Tools of Destruction as much as like Krakenstein or the first three, but
Yeah.
I remember this game being very interesting. It was almost like the calm before the storm, so to speak. That's what this game was. So, okay, so let's move on to A Crack in Time, 2 years later, October 27th, 2009, 2 years apart. Originally, you know, it was a yearly franchise. A lot going
You know
on.
what I'm talking about, Quest for Booty? Because it's important to the story.
Well, I haven't played Quest for
Well,
Booty.
okay, I'll say it. Okay, so pretty much Quest for Booty. At the end of Ratchet and Clank Tools of Destruction, Ratchet they learn a little more about his family, but the problem is at the end, Clank's family makes an entrance, and they take him home. So Clank is gone. They don't know where Clank is.
Oh, I thought he got taken in Tools of Destruction.
He did got taken in Tools of Destruction.
Okay.
Quest for Booty is the search for Clank.
Oh.
Ratchet, yo, play that game, man. It's so important. Pretty much, Quest for Booty is more centered around platforming levels. Rather, like in Tools of Destruction, is more of the traditional Ratchet and Clank game. You get a bloated inventory. You go to so many planets. In Quest for Booty, you don't go to. You only go to 1 or 2 planets, but like you're mainly searching for Clank, and you fight a lot of pirates. You get more platforming sections, and there are sections that strip your weapons away entirely because you're kind of like deserted. Like,
yeah,
you know,
I noticed. I played a little bit, yeah.
And like it's unlike and it's like Deadlock in the sense that like Ratchet is without Clank, and you feel it, like you kind of feel it more because like he really misses him. It's like
Ratchet Clank 1, like when he gets zapped, and you have to, that level where he gets zapped and it's raining. Oh,
and it's interesting. It's like you can make it. Like,
it's hard to find too. When I bought a copy for you, Michael, I had to buy a French copy. And I was hoping that it would work on the PlayStation.
It's
great. I don't know when this happened, but I guess when the PlayStation 4 came out, everything that was in the PlayStation Store started to become less and less available. These in between Ratchet and Clank titles, and Quest for Booty is one of them, became harder to find. You know,
capitalism.
Yeah.
Ratchet, even though he's without Clank and they're looking for him, he does have his friend with him, Talon from Tools of Destruction. But it's interesting is that there's a level where you and Talon get split up, and she's like, Ratchet, let's promise that we leave here together. Maybe depending on how Ratchet is handling the Clank thing, you can decide to either escape the level without her or find her and leave with her. It's like a small decision, but it's so to me it's important to the story because like Ratchet is like he's without his best friend, so he's kind of going through it. Maybe he's not making decisions he would normally make. Like, you know, I'm just saying this game was very important to the overall story of this trilogy.
Okay, Crack in Time. So because the thing is, Crack in Time, there's just a lot. There's just a lot. Like there's the Clank levels, which are the most detailed they've been in the entire series. That Chronoscepter is just fantastic.
I love it.
And those time puzzles. Like, this can be its own game. For real. Honestly, they can make a whole game of just Clank time puzzles. Just out of this world. And the Sonic Eruptor. The Sonic Eruptor is just amazing. Yeah, that's right.
That Insomniac was like, that's cool, let's put this in the game, actually.
There's like a pig-looking animal. It's like it's a mating call. So when you shoot it, it lets off its mating call, but it's destructive.
And if you time it right, like the destruction like gets bigger.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And the story is just remarkable. So, okay, give me your thoughts on Crack in Time.
Well, like one of the coolest things about Crack in Time, at the end of Quest for Booty, it showed the return of Dr. Nefarious. It showed that Nefarious knew where Clank was, but they didn't tell you where they were until Crack in Time came, and it shows you that we're at your home. It shows the first time like Clank's real home where he was really built, and it shows you Clank's father. And Clank's father, literally, if you ever watch Frasier, imagine Niles and Frasier in one person, but he's a nicer guy. But he's just as crazy and very like out there. Like Orvis is a great character.
He reminds me of Niles. Yeah,
yeah, he does. Crack in Time is just.
Yeah,
I can talk for hours about this.
It's so detailed and it's very entertaining.
This was Clank's spotlight for me because this game is all about him. It's all about his dad. It's all about like the Great Clock and about Clank's real purpose in the world. Because in Ratchet and Clank 1, he pops out of this robot vending machine, and you just think he's a failure, but no, he was made for something else, and this is why. And then this game, I feel like Insomniac made this game as a love letter to the fans because there are little Easter eggs that make you remember the older games too. Like the Zoni look like the Infobots in Ratchet and Clank 1, and then you realize, oh, these robots were designed with that in mind because the ethos are like the whole point of Crack in Time is that this great clock has existed, for a while. Like it's keeping the universe together. And Clank has to repair it. Like, all those mini-games are super important. They're not just, like, okay, cool mini-games with cool things. Like, the planets that you fix anomalies on, Ratchet goes to, and depending on what Clank does, like, well, it doesn't give you that much leeway because you have to actually fix the anomalies.
You fix time anomalies.
Right, and then you go back to those planets and you see the anomalies are fixed. Like, you actually see the payoff of what Clank is doing.
I said before how, like, in the end of Tools of Destruction, Clank's family came. His family's called the Zoni. And in A Crack in Time... Yeah. Which cool, like, in A Crack in Time... When you first, when you first see the Zoni in Tools of Destruction, but when you look at them and you find out that they're Clank's family, the Zoni are like worshipped throughout the galaxy. They're like spirits. But the cool thing is, you find out when you look at them that they inspired the infobots that were in the first trilogy.
And the hypersonic brainwave scrambler.
Yes,
I love that boss because it's just messing up everything.
Yeah. So
what do you guys think about Azimuth? Yeah,
he was great.
Azimuth.
Yeah,
oh my
he was
god,
great.
Very tragic character. But he gets his redemption arc at the last boss. He goes from being the last boss to a hero.
I just want to talk to you.
This game was shocking.
Yeah.
This game was shocking. This was one of the most shocking Ratchet and Clank games ever because, like,
He was not easy. He was not an easy boss.
no,
He did not sell, but he did dance. If the Groove John works on.
Oh, yeah, he danced a little
He
bit.
has the disco.
Yeah.
It's really
no.
cool.
Well, you know what's kind of funny when you're fighting him and you use the Groovitron arm, you hear him go while he's dancing. You think this is funny, dude?
Yeah.
like,
So, moral of the story: if you have a PS3, don't get rid of it and play the future games.
Yep.
If you still have your PS2, don't get rid of it and buy the original trilogy. And well, if you have a PS3, if you can find it, get the trilogy remaster collection. Ratchet and Clank. This is My Little Underground. I'm Peter A. Thank you, Smiley and Rich, for coming on and talking about this phenomenal game that's turning 20 this November.
Thanks for having us.
thank you.
Anytime. Later days.